Hi, and welcome to Michigan Matters. Governor Rick Snyder, who ran our state for 8 years and been involved with business since leaving office, is here today to talk about a new game plan he's touting to help the region called the Michigan Roadmap. So what's it about? Then the roundtable's waiting in the wings to talk about our city, our region, our state. So grab some coffee and join us as we talk a little politics, a little business. Let's get started.
From CBS Detroit, this is Michigan Matters with Carol Kane. Michigan Matters is brought to you in part by Cure Auto Insurance.
And we're so pleased to welcome Rick Snyder, our 48th governor, who served 2 terms, left office 2019, has been involved with the cybersecurity company he's run since then, and you're off to some new things here. How the heck are you?
Doing well. It's great to be back on the show with you, Carol.
Well, and it's good to have you back here. In fact, I saw you. We were at your Michigan Political Leadership Program there with me, and I know that Robert Costa, who talked about being positive, I knew that was a chord that would strike with you.
It was great. That was his closing about how we need more positive people in the political world, and hey, I'm cheering him on for that one because we do. We need more civility. We need more positive people, and it's got to happen. That's the greatest threat to our nation, in my view, is this lack of civility, and the greatest threat is us not getting along with ourselves.
Yeah, and that's sort of, you ran an office on relentless positive action. That's kind of been your whole thing. So I know there's so much more to say about it. But I want to talk about, I was intrigued. You have the Michigan Roadmap, which you created, Bridging Opportunity and Accountability. It's a 10-point plan for the state. You've been involved with cybersecurity. You're out of politics, or supposedly were. So why did you write this? Why did you create this? And what's the purpose?
Yeah. So one of the questions: have you ever thought, what do you do with an old governor? So a couple things there. One is I really enjoy Sensei, the cybersecurity company I'm involved with. I was one of the co-founders. The company's doing well. We help small and medium-sized companies be safer, organizations be safer. But the other part is I want to save some of my time for public policy and some political things. And what do I mean by that? I think I have things I can still give back in a positive way, to be a contributor, to help hopefully next generation people interested in entering this realm. And the last document you mentioned about this roadmap for Michigan was, if you look at it, how many of the political people running for office now spend all their time just bad-mouthing, cutting down, saying negative things about the other people running, or just sound bites. We need substance. Michigan is in decline again. We need a positive agenda out there that's strong, that's thoughtful, that people can engage in, and can be done, hopefully, in a bipartisan way as much as possible. So the 10-point plan is really an attempt to do that. I think it's a well-done document that has 10 different areas that we can all largely work together on. I think probably about 80% is bipartisan. I'm sure there are a few things people would disagree with me on. But it's largely bipartisan to say, here's a positive agenda. And what we did with it then is we gave it out to all the legislators in the state, all the statewide office candidates we could find or that were in place at that time. And we're encouraging candidates to take it and make it their own.
Yeah. So education, which is one of the things I know that's you mentioned in your report, very important. What's the one thing you're trying to shift there? One thing.
Oh, one thing. Well, I'm biased. I have a whole education.
Yeah, I know. We could talk the whole.
Yeah, we could talk the whole piece about that.
Shows talking about education. What's wrong here?
So the one I'm working on in particular is to get a relief from seat time. Seat time is the current rule of the nation, which largely says you measure educational outcomes by having a person have their bottom in a seat for so many hours a day, so many months of the year, and you come out after 12 years educated. What we're doing now, I'm suggesting, is a couple bills that would allow for innovation districts. Districts on a voluntary basis that want to go innovate, try new things, they would get relief from seat time. And to do that, it would have to be individualized plans for the students, about educational plans for them. It would focus in on competency, and it would require the approval of the school board, the teachers or the teachers union, and the parents.
Have you gotten any feedback from legislators you've given this to? Is anyone willing to pick up the water and carry it to try to get these things done? And have you talked to school districts? Is anybody in on doing that?
Absolutely. So the good part is the legislative feedback's been very good. The part that really got me fired up, because, you know, I was talking about this idea about a year ago, but I found a group that's actually been doing it in Michigan for 2 or 3 years with the constraint of seat time. So they've been held back, but they're doing it. It's the Future of Learning Council. They had their annual summit yesterday. They had nearly 300 educators there. and they represent over 85 school districts across Michigan. They're doing these innovative things. I've been doing school visits, and if you want to get pumped up, if you want to see Michigan's bright future, go visit a school and one of these innovative schools and see what they're doing. What this legislation would say is they can do a lot more innovation.
Right. Is this something you're trying to get them to do this now, so when we come into 2027 that there's some sort of support for this somewhere?
If this bill passes, these bills pass, they could start doing it this next school year. Why wait?
Yeah.
We shouldn't wait on these kids. They deserve better.
I know. We're going to talk about business, and you have some thoughts about that, but we need to take a quick break here, pay a few bills. We'll be back with Governor Rick Snyder and his game plan right after this. Hi, welcome back to Michigan Matters. We're talking with former Michigan Governor Rick Snyder, who has a new game plan for the state to try and invigorate it. Curious on the business front. While you were governor, you were a champion for Michigan and China doing more business together, two-way bridges, if you will. We know that President Trump's in China this week talking things up. Are you as much a champion for China and Michigan as you were back when you were governor?
Well, a couple things, Carol. We were able to bring a lot of jobs to Michigan in terms of Chinese and other businesses from across the globe coming to Michigan. And if you think about it, putting Michiganders in good, well-paying jobs is an important thing to do. So I think we still should be very supportive of that. The other thing is if you look at since the time I've left, I think tensions have risen with China. And there are a number of issues, but the way I view it still is in many respects, isn't it better to engage with them, to have relationships and to know how they're thinking or to do something with them rather than to push them away and not talk to them? It's that old thing. It's part of relentless positive action. It's better to engage, better to have dialogue than not to have that, because that helps hopefully deal with some of those harder issues go better.
You were pivotal in making sure that the Gordie Howe International Bridge, that deal got done between Canada and Michigan. It's been in process. It's there. It sounds like the bow tie's on it. Everything that needs to happen, it just needs to open. And Donald Trump has other ideas at the moment of stalling its opening right now. Are you confident it's going to open? And what's the message you would send to Washington about we need to get this bridge going here?
Well, it will open. I mean, you cannot, I don't know how you could have an asset of that magnitude that has that much benefit to it sit there indefinitely. So it may get delayed a little bit more, but I think the biggest concern I've had is the misinformation the president's gotten. Getting information from the Maroons and other people that have a bias to what they're telling them as opposed to what the facts really are. This bridge is an incredible win for Michigan and for our nation. We didn't put up any money for this bridge. We actually, the state of Michigan has 50% ownership. There's no liability on this bridge. What the bridge does, though, it's interesting when people talk about that. The bridge was never intended to be a money-making enterprise. It's really there to make more commerce happen.
It's a facilitator.
Yeah, well, if you think of it, it's a connector. So it helps on job creation, it helps on economic growth, it helps on all these things, but it also helps on relationships. Because it's not just about dollars and cents. I mean, as a Michigander, I love the Canadians. They're wonderful people. And we want to have good relations, and this bridge would do it. I'm excited. My goal is to go walk that bridge as soon as I can.
Maybe we'll walk that on Labor Day like they do up at the Mackinac Bridge here. Let's keep the theme on business for a second here. In there, you talk about doing business and making it easier for businesses here. What one thing would you change that would make this a more receptive place for businesses who, one, either want to expand or two, come into the state to build operations or start something?
Yeah, well, it's our regulatory system, and the key part there is to refocus in on really helping small businesses and medium-sized businesses. The backbone of an economy are your small and medium-sized businesses. And in our state, over the last few years, there was way too much attention away from that and towards buying big companies into Michigan with big incentives. That's not the best way to do business. It's not the best way to run a state.
But when you know you're competing against other states like Ohio, Illinois, California, that have big, they dangle big, dollars and cents and other incentives coming in, Michigan has to put up something, right?
It's put up something, but it's not about writing big checks. I can tell you an illustration I had when I was governor. I did a lot of trade missions. You know that. So I am in this one particular meeting. A CEO comes in from this company that's got like 500 jobs potentially coming to Michigan. First words out of his mouth is, tell me about the incentives you're going to give me to come to Michigan. You know what my response was? I looked him in the eye and I said, Well, that's going to be a short conversation because I blew most of them up. We got a couple left, but let me tell you why you're coming to Michigan. So I outlined the talent that we have in our state that he needs in his company, and I outlined where he was in the supply chain in terms of, his whole distribution channel and everything else. He came to Michigan.
That's how you do it. And question for you, too. One of the things that you did when you came in office, which upset a lot of people, was ending the film incentives. Michigan, Detroit had a lot of films, big movies, movie shows, and other things being done here. But you got rid of the incentives, and again, that business petered out and pretty much left, went to Atlanta, wherever else. Do you regret that at all?
No. It was economically unsound.
But wasn't it like a lost leader? Wasn't it like a lost leader, though? You bring it in and you up the cool factor and you bring other things that creates jobs. There were so many young people all excited.
Not for that kind of lost leader. It was over 40 cents on the dollar. If you went to any business person to say, would you come to Michigan for 40-some cents on the dollar, anybody would come because it's not a rational act. It didn't create that many permanent jobs. If you look at it, it's an opportunity cost question, Carol. If you think about it, if you had $100 million, spending all that on some films that don't create that many jobs versus $100 million in terms of helping small businesses be created, helping do wonderful things there, or potentially saying, why don't we leave that in our taxpayers' pockets so they can help pay for milk and bread?
Real quickly here. You sound like you're running for something here, Rick Snyder. Obviously, you're term limited on governor. Are you done running for elected office?
Well, again, I'm not running for anything. If you look at
would you consider running for any? Let me re-ask this question. Would you consider running again? In fact, you were mentioned not for governor. You could run for something else, and in fact, 2028 is going to be open.
So what I'm trying to do, why you hear this in my voice, is I'm hopefully going to be a good role model for other people running, to do this in a positive way, to do it in a constructive way. We need role models out there to say you can do relentless positive action.
You dodged that question and answering Senate, running for president, which
you could never see me as a senator.
Okay, what about president? What about that president job?
No, so I'm trying to be a positive role model and bring positive statements to Michigan versus the lack of civility, the animosity you're seeing in the current political world. It's not healthy.
Would you want to run in this environment, given the civility, the nonpartisanship, the things that aren't taking place? Is this an environment you'd want to run for office?
I encourage people to run because how's it going to get better if people don't run? I mean, it's based on people doing something, not doing something. So I encourage people to be engaged, and this is how I'm being engaged, is that roadmap, is this education initiative.
You'll be up at Mackinac. I'm talking that up too, I know.
Yeah, I'll be in Mackinac.
We'll see you up on the island here. Governor, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
It's great to see you.
There's more to say. We'll be talking more, I'm sure, as this election season goes on here. So speaking of politics, keep it right here. We're back with the Roundtable right after this. Welcome back. It's time for the Roundtable as we're joined by regulars, Macomb County Executive Mark Hackle, Republican strategist Susie Avery, and making his debut is Brian White, Deputy Mayor of Detroit. It's great to have you guys with us.
Thank you.
Well, especially you, Brian, making your debut. For regulars, everybody knows we love sports and sports analogies. And I remember what Chuck Daly said when he was an assistant coach and became the head coach. He said it's a million miles between those two.
Absolutely.
You have been with the mayor now for 6 months. You both, she was a president, city council, been involved with city government a long time, but being mayor, it's a little bit different. So from your perch, what's it been like these first 6 months?
It's been exciting in some ways, but it's like drinking from a fire hose, certainly. You come to realize real quick that you're responsible for the actions of 11,000 people and all of their actions. So, but the mayor's been doing amazing things in her first 6 months, so it's been rewarding and exciting all at the same time.
Well, she's been tunnel focused on things that she campaigned on with neighborhoods and schools and kids and health. So, and we're going to have her on sometime too in the coming weeks here as well. Mark, I have to ask you, Selfridge. The speaker up in Lansing is talking about something's got to be signed by June 1st, so they risk the funding.
It will. It will. Again,
what's this about?
It's all politics right now. I mean, obviously, you got elections that are coming up, and they're trying to figure out how to position themselves. Some of the state reps and some of the, obviously, senators are up, and so they're trying to figure, okay, in those swing districts, how do we make some look bad and others look good? So you're going to see a lot of that political, partisan, activity taking place. But the reality is this is going to get done. It's going to get signed, and we're going to be moving
You're
forward.
confident?
I am.
No.
100%. Yes.
No wiggle room. That's
not
possible.
worried about it. This will get done.
Well, guys, it's hard to believe, but it's only 180 days till the November election here. My God. But we still have to get to the primary here. So, Susie, let's just dive in here. Let's start with the Senate race. We know Mike Rogers is going to be the Republican nominee.
Right.
How much advantage is he going to have given the dogfight that's going on the Democratic side of the aisle?
Well, he'll have some advantage from that. His advantage will be in the money-making aspect of it because he doesn't have to raise that much right now. Exactly. But where if you go through a very contested primaries, as the Democrats are doing right now, it takes money to get that name out and to get your. He has been out there working, I got to say, because I get something from him every other day. And he's showing up at places doing a lot of stuff, as is Christy, his wife. So he's doing a lot. But I'll tell you, these primaries that take in all this contentiousness are really difficult on that political party.
Yeah.
There's no getting around it.
It's Mark, speaking of that, Haley Stevens, Mallory McMorrow, Abdul El-Sayed on the Democratic side. Macomb County in particular, which is so important, how is it resonating out in that neck of the woods?
It's a toss-up. I don't know what the outcome is going to be. I think the Democrats are hurting themselves. They're constantly fighting within the party, during these, attempts to try to figure out who is going to be leading, whether it's the convention they just had, which was incredibly contentious and problematic, I think, for the party. Even the outcome of it is going to be, is going to be a challenge, for the Democrats come November. So, I think they're creating their own problems.
Yeah.
And so, but I got to say that this is both the National Democrats and the National Republicans have indicated this is the #1 race in the United States.
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be like all kinds of money and people coming in from all sides. So we apologize to the people who are watching this.
If you don't like politics, turn your TV set, don't read, don't pay any attention to
Democrats got to start figuring out how, instead of just to kind of win a primary election, how do they start putting a position forward, somebody that is going to be able to win the general election. And oftentimes they don't do that.
Brian, you are a longtime student of politics. Yes. You're a degree from Michigan. I mean, you've been all in on politics for a long time here. There seems to be a struggle for control within the Democratic Party between the progressives and the moderates. And Mark mentioned about Haley Stevens getting booed at the state convention, and she's an incumbent. I mean, that just shows you. Do Dems, what's happening here mirrors what goes on nationally with the Democratic Party as well here, but do Dems run the risk of too much fighting, not enough unity, causing problems, getting in November?
Yeah, I think always, there's infighting in every party.
That's the truth.
Have the same thing. I mean, they've had the Tea Party, the MAGA Republicans, but they do one thing that Democrats haven't figured out is how to coalesce after the infighting and once we come down to a single candidate. So I think the Dems could learn a little bit from the Republicans in that sense, and we got to help them get there.
Well, conventional wisdom is that the old line party apparatus carries the day and Stevens survives. Your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I've gotten out of the prognostication business after the last couple of presidential elections, but I will say, having been a Democratic Party employee and one who was responsible for all of the areas across the state, the apparatus plays a big role, especially out county. You can't dismiss it, and I've gotten a couple right recently because of that apparatus.
Real quickly, Susie, we got about 30 seconds here before break. That means short answer. How much national money are we going to see coming in beyond the windfall that Rogers has had so far? How much money is going to be coming in?
Oh, it's going to be millions and millions. I mean, some people are saying it's going to be up to $1 billion. I don't know if it's going to be that much, but that's what people are predicting right now. That's why I'm saying the airwaves in your mailbox are going to be filled with telephone calls, polling.
And does it work, Mark?
Well, again, we'll see.
Well, are people going to be sick and tired of it before we even get to the primary? Yeah. We'll see. Not an answer. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more Michigan Matters right after this. We're back and talking with Mark Hackel, Susie Avery, and Brian White about what else but politics. But we are going to work in a business question here. Brian, I know that Detroit has been picking up momentum as a city, and I know the population numbers came out, the census numbers, they're still up.
Yes.
How much and what do you attribute it to?
3 straight years, we picked up at least another 5,000 in population growth. Pretty much attributed to some challenges we made with the amount of demolitions that we've done. We've been getting hit in our count. So we've challenged that and made some ground there. But also, we rehabbed a lot of homes, and those weren't on the rolls. So now those are being counted.
Now it's all fair square. Everybody's
Absolutely.
it's even Steven, and everybody's on the same playing field, right?
Absolutely.
Well, speaking of playing fields and what's taking place, interesting times here. Susie, Michael Edward Duggan, who's a unicorn in many ways, was a Democrat, left, running as an independent for governor. What are the Republicans feeling about the Duggan run?
Well, I think right now, if you were to look at it, and I'm being honest, he probably is taking from both parties, Democrat and Republican Party. You can go at certain times and say, well, at this time he was taking more for the Dems, this time he's taking more for the... but I got to say, he's working hard out there. I mean, and I'm talking not Southeast Michigan. He's working hard in Kent County, in the western part, to get his name ID, to meet the people, because as you know, I mean, the best way to get a vote is to have met the person.
Yeah. And Mark, certainly Duggan centrist governing style is going to be playing on the west side of the state up north, where they don't really know him. That's the challenge he faces. Besides the money chase, that's another story. But
yeah, I'm just going to specific Macomb. If you're a moderate, you're going to get votes, obviously, from the moderate independent vote, but you're going to also pull from both parties. And I think that's where he's trying to land himself. So it's going to be successful in Macomb County. To what extent, I don't know. I think that's how I positioned myself over the years, whether sheriff or county executive. And I draw from both parties, but more importantly, the people that are looking for moderate candidates as opposed to extremes on either side.
And the importance of endorsements. We know Stabenow just came out. She endorsed Haley Stevens, and the Black Slate just endorsed Duggan. The importance. You've been on both sides of seeing what happens if someone endorses or doesn't endorse the candidate. How important are endorsements?
I mean, endorsements are only as good as what comes behind that
That's
endorsement,
right.
and that's the money and the people. So we'll see how that pairs out in terms of these endorsements. But I think, you know, the governor, well, once she starts to weigh in, things will start to move the needle, and there'll be money coming, as Susan said, from the national level. This is probably going to be the most expensive race in the nation.
We're saying that on every single race just about here. There's going to be so much money here. How do you see it, Susie, particularly with on the Senate side with the 3 Democrats having Stabenow, you know, Chris and Haley as the heir apparent type thing?
Well, I think the 3 of them have really shown that they can raise the money. I mean, I don't care if it's through APAC or through, you know, national money or whatever. They can raise the money. I don't know if after they get done with this hugely contentious primary, if they can go out there and raise the kind of money that Mike Rogers is raising right now.
Yeah.
And especially if a candidate is picked that the rest of the party, that only a third of the party likes. You know, that's going to be, who can get their voter out?
Well, before we wind down today, I want to wind down the show with my Keynes commentary on something that must change in our political environment. In the wake of the senseless but thankfully thwarted attack of the recent White House Correspondents' Dinner, where a sick idiot who attempted violence was targeting Trump administration officials, a conservative commentator on a major cable network proclaimed that conservatives felt under attack. And you know what? That's the kind of divisive partisan nonsense that has us where we are today as a country. Is Nancy Pelosi's husband conservative? Is Congresswoman Omar? Is Governor Josh Shapiro? Or the Minnesota legislators who were murdered? Please. Political violence is as ignorant and bipartisan as it comes, and for folks like me who are blessed to have a platform, we need to speak the truth on issues like this and stop with the partisan platitudes. I know there's something really sick happening with this country, and it's a disease that's intensified the past 10 years. It's an inexcusable dynamic that needs to stop, particularly people who have a platform before them. And I know that, speaking of politics here, with so much going on here, one question, is the public going to be sick and tired of this by the time with the primary and whatever, seeing all these ads on this? Is this going to cut interest in this?
Yeah, I think there already is. I don't think people are as tuned in as people are in politics are, but the reality is I think we're going to see a lower voter turnout as time goes on.
That's going to be the last word. We want to thank Governor Snyder for being here and you 3 folks. Brian, thank you again. Great job. We'll have you back. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you next Sunday for a little bit more Michigan Matters.